I've lived a long life, 80 years, and each one filled with its own quiet victories and small sorrows. I have worked hard, loved deeply, and done what was expected of me. I raised children, kept a proper house, offered what comfort I could to neighbors, and tried to be the daughter, the wife, the sister everyone thought I was. And yet, there is one thing I have never spoken of, one secret I have carried all these years. A secret that weighs on my chest like a stone, heavy, unmoving, and always present. Something I took to my grave, though I should have shared it. Something I have regretted every day since. I was born in January of 1840 in the small town of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. The air was cold and crisp that day. My mother later said it snowed as I took my first breath. I was her first child, the eldest. And with that came expectations that felt heavier than any blanket. 2 years later, my sister Lydia arrived, followed by my brothers, Samuel, Thomas, and Henry. 5 children in all, and a house that never knew silence. My father ran a small sawmill by the creek. It was a modest life, not wealthy, but enough. The constant sound of sawing timber, of the wheels turning, the water splashing, it became the rhythm of our days. The house was orderly, as my father demanded. Rules governed everything, when to rise, when to eat, when to speak, and when to remain silent. My mother stood beside him, a quiet enforcer, never questioning, always ensuring that the household ran smoothly. Breakfast was always at 6, dinner at noon, supper promptly at 6 again. Chores were assigned, and failure to complete them brought a stern hand and a sharp voice. Oh, we learned obedience quickly. I learned it first. Even as a child, I understood responsibility. I made my bed each morning, folded my clothes neatly, kept my room spotless, and practiced my letters until they were straight and precise. I sought my parents' approval, yes, but also my own sense of order. It comforted me, this discipline. It made me feel safe, important, capable. Lydia, however, was different. She laughed more freely than any child had the right to, sang while doing her chores, left her toys scattered about the room, and sometimes forgot to finish tasks that were simple for me. It angered me. How could someone be so careless, so distracted by the world around her, while I struggled to meet every expectation? It seemed unjust. I did everything right, while she simply lived in her own rhythm. I immune to the weight of duty. I tried to understand her. I truly did. But it frustrated me endlessly. Why did she not see the importance of proper behavior? Why did she not care, as I did, about reputation, about order, about being reliable? I found myself resenting her. Though I kept it carefully hidden, I did not wish to speak ill aloud, yet inside my thoughts simmered. And yet even in our small differences there were moments of shared joy. Lydia and I had our secrets. Small games we played in our room, whispers in the dark after the lights were extinguished. I cherished those moments, though they were fleeting, overshadowed by the tension of our contrasting natures. It was a balance of love and irritation, one that would shape me more than I realized. There were early hints of the choices I would later regret. One morning, Lydia left the butter churn unfinished, distracted by watching the birds through the window. Our mother chastised her gently, but it never seemed to matter. I completed her work quietly, though my hand shook with frustration. Small, innocent acts of carelessness, yet each one seemed to plant a seed of resentment within me. Even then, I sensed that these moments, trivial as they seemed, might one day become larger, more consequential. The years passed, and childhood gradually gave way to the responsibilities of adolescence. I grew into my role as the dutiful daughter, carrying our family's values in every careful step. Lydia continued to move through the world lightly, almost untouchably, leaving traces of disorder that somehow always resolved themselves. I watched, I judged, I learned to control myself, but the tension remained. When I turned 18, I married George Whitman, a man of steady disposition and kind hands. He owned a small plot of land near my father's mill. With him, I built a household of my own, one that reflected every lesson I had absorbed in my youth. Chores were done promptly, meals were prepared on schedule, and our children were raised with care, taught respect and diligence. In many ways, my life mirrored the order I had always valued, yet beneath it all lingered the shadow of Lydia's free spirit, a reminder of the recklessness I had never allowed myself. Even as a young bride, I could see the way my childhood shaped me. My obsession with order, with duty, with doing things correctly had been instilled long before I left my family home. Lydia's lightness, her unpredictability, haunted me even now, like a melody I could not forget. And in the quiet moments, I would remember the small tensions, the moments of resentment, the choices that seemed trivial at the time but would echo through the years. It was in those early years of marriage, in the hum of daily life, that I first realized the weight of what I carried. Not the chores, not the duties, not even the successes of my carefully arranged household, but the knowledge that one day something I did or failed to do might leave a scar I could never repair. Something that would linger quietly, relentlessly, in the heart of the one person I loved enough to both admire and resent. My sister Lydia. And so I carry that knowledge, even now, at 80 years of age. The secret has never left me. It is a shadow that follows, a whisper in the quiet, a weight that grows heavier with each passing day. And though I have done my duty, lived my life, loved my children, and upheld the standard set for me, I know that nothing I have done can undo what I failed to do, or what I did that I should not have. This is only the beginning. The choices of childhood, the small incidents of judgment and pride, would all culminate in a moment I would regret for the rest of my life. A moment that would define the secret I carried, a secret I would take to my grave, and a secret that would haunt me in ways I cannot fully describe. When I married George Whitman, I believed I understood what it meant to be responsible, to do everything correctly, to honor the lessons of my childhood. Our life together was orderly, predictable, safe. George was steady, kind, a man who valued work, family, and stability. We had a modest house near my father's mill. I took pride in making it proper, arranging our children's days with care, ensuring meals were ready on time, the linens neatly pressed, the floors swept, everything in its place. And yet, Lydia, she lived differently. She had married Daniel Foster, a man nothing like George. Handsome, charming, but careless and uncertain, never quite steady enough to satisfy me. He drifted between odd jobs, sometimes helping my father at the mill, sometimes working elsewhere, never settling, never saving. Lydia did not seem to care. She loved him wholly, unreservedly, and she was happy. Seeing her that way, so unbound by duty, so free, made my chest tighten with a strange mixture of envy and disapproval. We visited often enough, though the distance between our homes made it less frequent than I preferred. I would arrive, my children neatly dressed, our house immaculate, our manners precise. Lydia's house, by contrast, was chaotic. Toys littered the floor, dishes piled in the sink, laundry lay unfolded, and yet, despite the disorder, Lydia's laughter filled every corner. Daniel smiled, unfazed, and the children played, happy and untamed. I did not know how to reconcile it. I would tidy a corner, correct a child's posture, remind Lydia to finish a chore, and she would nod, smile, perhaps hum a song, and do nothing else. It infuriated me. How could she not care? How could she allow such chaos to thrive when order, discipline, responsibility were what preserved dignity, what shaped a good life? And yet, through it all, she radiated joy, light, freedom. Something inside me longed for that ease, yet I could not allow myself to admit it. Years passed. Oh, my children grew, careful and proper, reflections of the order I had instilled. Lydia's boys were wild, loud, difficult to manage, yet full of life. I found myself judging not just her, but them. I could not help it. It was the habit of a lifetime. Observation, judgment, control. And yet, underneath it all, I feared that my judgment, my disapproval, had created a distance that could never be bridged. The breaking point came unexpectedly, on a day that seemed ordinary. A family gathering, celebrating our mother's birthday. The room was crowded, warm with candlelight and the smell of fresh bread, laughter mingling with the quiet clatter of dishes. Lydia arrived late, flustered as usual, but radiant. Daniel followed, a bit behind, apologizing for the delay. I watched her closely, noting every detail, the hair slightly out of place, the mud on her boots, the hurried way she seated her boys. I spoke first. Perhaps I should have remained silent, but the words escaped before I could stop them. Ohio? Moving there? Are you certain that is wise? I said, more sharply than intended. Daniel cannot manage a proper household. You will be alone, without support, and it will end in failure. The room fell silent. The children paused mid-bite. The adults looked up, startled by the sudden sharpness in my tone. Lydia's face changed in an instant, white, then red, eyes filling with tears. She rose abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "We're leaving," she said, voice trembling but firm. "Boys, get your coats." Daniel tried to calm her, to ask her to remain, but she would not. In moments they were gone, the door closing behind them, leaving a void in the room, a weight that settled over us all. I sat there, stunned, my heart pounded, not with fear, but with a rising, suffocating sense of dread. Weeks passed. Lydia and Daniel had moved. They had not written, not spoken. I discovered the details of their new life through our mother's letters, sparse updates, always brief, always polite. Lydia had made the choice she wanted, lived as she wished, unbothered by my judgment, unshaken by my insistence that I was right. And I was alone with my pride, my stubbornness, my certainty that I had acted rightly. It was years later, years of silence, that the true weight of my words, of my actions, came crashing down. Lydia became ill, her letters pleading for a visit, her voice in my mind echoing through the years I had ignored. And I refused. I told myself I was busy. Oh, that my own life required attention, that I could not leave. I told myself she would forgive me in time. But time did not wait. By the time I was able to travel, the letters had stopped. And then came the news. Lydia had passed. I had missed her. I had not held her hand, had not whispered apologies, had not told her I loved her. 40 years of life and experience, and yet when it mattered most, I was absent. My pride, my stubbornness, my endless insistence that I was right had cost me my sister. I remember standing by her grave, the soil still fresh, the flowers wilting in the cold wind. Daniel and the boys were there, mourning quietly. I said nothing, could not say anything. Words failed me. All I could feel was the crushing weight of regret, the endless, suffocating knowledge that I had caused my own heartbreak. All that my actions or inactions had destroyed a bond I could never repair. For decades I carried the secret, not just the memory of her death, but the knowledge that I could have acted differently, that I could have spoken, visited, apologized, that I could have preserved the love of my sister. And I never did. 40 years of silence, 40 years of pride, and a lifetime of regret. It is a lesson I wish I had learned sooner. That love is more important than being right. That family matters more than pride. That words unsaid cannot be recalled. And that the moments we take for granted are often the ones we will miss most. I carry this knowledge every day. Every morning, every night, every quiet hour, it sits beside me like a shadow, whispering of what I failed to do. And yet, in telling this now, I hope someone might hear it. I hope someone might understand, before it is too late, that the choices we make, the words we speak or fail to speak, have consequences far beyond what we can imagine. That a moment of pride can echo through decades, leaving a wound no balm can heal. This was my secret, my mistake, my lifelong sorrow. A lesson I learned too late, and a burden I will carry until my final breath. Now, at 85, I sit quietly in my room, hands wrinkled, eyes tired, yet alive with memory. The house is still and orderly, as I have always kept it. George is gone these past 10 years, and my children have families of their own. The house echoes with memories, with laughter long faded, with voices I will never hear again. But there is one voice that remains, one presence that never leaves me. Lydia, my sister, my lost companion. My joy and my sorrow intertwined. I think of the day I judged her, of the harsh words I spoke that sent her away, of the letters I never wrote, of the visits I never made. I think of her laughing, carefree, full of life, unaware of the storm I would bring into her world. And I remember the funeral, the grave, the silence. I remember Daniel's eyes, filled with sorrow and understanding, and the boys, grown now, but forever shaped by the absence I created. I have apologized to her in my mind countless times. In the quiet hours of night, I imagine kneeling beside her, whispering the words I never dared to speak. I was wrong. I am sorry. I love you. I imagine her smiling, her forgiveness warm and complete. But it is only imagination. The chance is gone. 40 years, 40 long years of silence and stubborn pride. And now, the grave is her only voice. This secret, this burden, has shaped me as much as my childhood shaped me. I have tried to be different with my own children, with my grandchildren, with those I love. I have learned, perhaps too late, that life is not about being right, not about discipline or perfection. Life is about love, about connection, about cherishing the moments we are given. Pride and stubbornness steal more than respect. They steal our hearts, our relationships, our chance to say what matters most. If there is one thing I wish to pass on, one lesson I hope anyone listening will understand, it is this: do not wait. Do not let a day pass thinking there will always be more time. Speak the words you fear. Apologize when you have wronged. Reach out before it is too late. Hold your loved ones close. Do not let pride decide for you. Do not let stubbornness win. The cost is far too high, the regret too deep. I carry Lydia with me still, her laughter, her light, her free spirit, and I carry the knowledge of what I lost, because I was too proud, too careful, too certain of my own way. It is a burden I cannot shed, a secret I took to my grave, and yet one I share now in the hope that others may learn from my mistake. So if you have a sister, a brother, a friend, a loved one you have wronged or left unsaid, the words that matter, speak now. Do not wait. Do not let life close the door on what matters most. Tell them you love them. Tell them you are sorry. Do it before it is too late, because I learned, too late, painfully, that a lifetime of being right is worthless if it costs you the people you love.